Hey everyone, let's get started. So today I'm going to be giving a presentation on the history of CryptoArt. I actually have an hour-long lecture where I've given a very in-depth history on CryptoArt, but now I have to condense this to 15 minutes. So let's just jump right in. It's a brief intro about myself. So I run a fund called One Confirmation. We were the seed investors in OpenSea and SuperRare, back in 2018. So been investing in NFTs and art for a very long time. I also built a website called CryptoArt.io, which is actually like really one of the first art aggregators that aggregates sales across different art marketplaces. So I guess before we get into crypto art, let's talk a little bit about the early history of NFTs. So before we talk about Ethereum, NFTs really started on Bitcoin. Back in 2012, 2013, with colored coins, as a concept of like how do you make these fungible assets, Bitcoin, non-fungible by tracing cryptocurrencies back to that Genesis block. And then back in 2014, Counterparty emerged as one of the side chains of Bitcoin that enabled early smart contract functionality. So you had a lot of early NFT collections like Spells of Genesis, more trading cards, rare Pepes that were built on Counterparty, this Bitcoin sidechain. But it was only until 2017 before rare Pepes bridged onto Ethereum as really one of the first Ethereum NFT projects. And then fast forward to summer of 2017 when Larva Labs launched CryptoPunks, which I'm sure all of you know what punks are, but I guess one interesting thing I'll say about punks is they were built back on the ERC20 token standards, the fungible token standards. So this was before the NFT token standard was invented, and Larva Labs found a clever hack of using the fungible token standard to create these 10,000 addition of 10,000 PFPs that we know today as like the first or one of the first PFP projects, considered one of the grails of PFPs. And then fast forward to beginning of 2018, and that was when Dapper Labs, the company behind CryptoKitties, finally invented the 721 NFT standard. And this is the standard. This, alongside with 1155, are the two standards that power NFTs. And really, after Dapper Labs, CryptoKitties invented 721s, this really kind of pioneered the early explosion of NFTs. And this was around the time that OpenSea launched, and it was really mainly like early passionate community of CryptoKitties holders and people who are minting, breeding, flipping CryptoKitties that were some of the early NFT users. But like a lot of the early use cases for NFTs were around PFPs and in-game assets, and it wasn't until I say around April 2018 when the idea of art on the blockchain really took off. And now I want to make a distinction between crypto art and NFTs broadly, where NFTs can comprises of many categories like collectibles, art, IP, in-game assets. But art, I consider crypto art to be really was like fine art, the stuff that you would consider store of value, what museums would collect and purchase, and like putting that on chain. And that concept really pioneered with SuperRare as the first crypto art marketplace and gallery. And back in 2018, that was when the very first crypto artwork was sold by this artist named Robbie Barat. And Robbie Barat was actually one of the first artists to do generative AI art. And he did this around 4 or 5 years before now, like AI is super buzzwordy. So he was really one of the first generative AI artists. And this artwork sold initially for 0.46 ETH, which was about $200 at the time, which our fund actually bought in early 2021, early 2021 for 100 ETH. So a 217x increase from initial sale price. But this piece, I'd say, is worth probably millions today from being one of the first crypto art on Ethereum. And there's actually a funny anecdote I want to talk about. So the artist Robbie Barat actually gave a presentation on crypto art back in 2018 to Christie's when Christie's was kind of learning about the blockchain and getting interested in all this tech. And for all of the 300 attendees who attended this conference, they gave out gift bags with a QR code where you could claim one of these NFTs. And out of all of those 300, only 12 people decided to scan their scan the QR codes to claim their NFTs. And for those lucky 12 people who did claim their NFTs, those pieces are worth 6 figures today. So, and the others that were thrown away are called the lost Robbies. So I guess the moral of the story for this is whenever you go to conferences, don't throw away your QR codes because you never know if these airdrops are worth 6 figures. And some other early artworks I want to talk about, the Xcopy 12. So Xcopy was another early crypto artist, and he minted 12, so like artworks ID 5 to 16, so 12 of the first artworks on Super Rare. Xcopy was one of the first glitch artists, which is also another big genre of crypto art. And each of these pieces will probably sell for 6 or 7 figures today. And the most valuable one of the 12 is actually the one in the top right, a coin for the ferryman. The character pieces, the pieces like with the faces, are worth more than the other glitch pieces. But these are also considered some of the most valuable artworks that were minted early on. So I guess one other thing I want to say about crypto art is the reason why these pieces are so valuable is also something that has to do with the blockchain, because the blockchain provides provenance, and it also timestamps when these artworks were minted. So pieces that were minted back in 2018 have the unfair advantage of being first to a category, and all new artists that come into the space that are minting on new platforms, they can't rewind the blockchain back to 2018 and mint these pieces anymore. So it's really the Lindy effect that the longer these pieces have been around, for the fact that they were first to a new defining category, that's why they're more valuable. So we talked about early fine art, one of them crypto art, and a few years later there was a new category of art that emerged called generative art. So in 2019, Larva Labs, which is the same team behind CryptoPunks, created the first generative art collection. And generative art in a nutshell is as an artist, you're really building. You're really creating an algorithm rather than the artwork. So it's basically a piece of code that defines, okay, given this random number generator and a seed, how is the algorithm going to produce the output of the artwork? And the really cool thing about generative art is you're using the entropy of the blockchain at the time of the block that this collection was minted. So basically, every time this artist were to create this new generative art collection, you get a different output because the entropy, the random number generator at each timestamp of the blockchain is different each time. So Autoglyphs was the first generative art collection, and this is actually a screenshot of the code base of the smart contract code. So as you can see here, you see a bunch of if-else statements, and it's basically like printing ASCII characters based on so it gets a seed and a output of a random number generator, and it goes through each character of the random number output, and then depending on what the character is, prints a certain piece of ASCII, and as a result of this, you get these beautiful ASCII art like this, which is the autoglyph, and this was the first generative art collection minted. And then fast forward to late 2020 when a project called Artblocks came along, and Artblocks was actually founded by an artist named Snowfro. He goes by Snowfro, Eric Calderon, who really popularized the concept with generative art by building a platform that made it easy for artists to upload their code and mint all of these different art pieces. So this is actually the very first a generative art collection minted on Artblocks, actually created by the founder himself. So it's called Chromie Squiggles. So it's basically a bunch of squiggles, as you can see. The entropy changes the colors, the type of squiggles, and some pieces are more valuable than others because the traits are more rare. So generative art, I would say, it's an interesting hybrid between one-of-one fine art and PFPs, like addition of 10,000 monkey pictures. And generative art is kind of this interesting middle ground where you do have the benefits of having a broad collector base with having a large collection, but it's also like much more high quality art than someone just creating a PFP and just trying to flip it. And here are two other generative art collections that are some of what we consider blue chips today. So on the left here is Ringers by Dmitry Cherniak. You see it's basically a series of pegs and holes and lines connecting, and there's certain ringers that are based on the traits that are more rare than others. You might have seen in the news how the Three Arrows collection is actually being liquidated right now by Sotheby's, and they're slowly auctioning off the collection over time. And last month, the most prized ringer, which is called the Goose Ringer, it's a ringer that kind of accidentally looked like a goose from the output of the generative artwork. That sold for $6.2 million. So there's still very high demand for generative art from high-end art collectors that consider these to be grails. There's actually another Sotheby's auction coming up later today where they're going to auction off more ringers and fidenzas. Fidenzas on the right, series of lines and colors by another artist called Tyler Hobbs. I say ringers right now, the floor is around 40 ETH for a ringer. For fidenzas, around 80 ETH. So these are some of the most valuable generative art collection. Also want to mention autoglyphs. The floor for an autoglyph today, I think, is around 200 ETH. So some of the blue chip gen art collections. So crypto art was really kind of a niche crypto native phenomenon where it's mostly ETH whales that were buying art, and it didn't really go mainstream until this guy came around. So his name is Mike Winkelman. He popularly goes by Beeple. And if you've been in the CGI VFX community for a long time, you've definitely heard of Beeple. But he's been one of the most famous CGI artists, and he's been using Cinema 4D, which is one of these software tools, to create a piece of artwork for every day for the last 15 years without ever missing a single day. And as a result, he was able to build up a huge brand and Instagram following, like millions of followers on Instagram for the artworks he's created. But the issue is he's never been able to monetize these artworks. He's made a living from doing consulting work with Fortune 500 companies, creating visuals for them, or with musicians creating visuals for them. And it was only until October 2020 when people learned about NFTs and he decided to mint some of his early NFT artwork. So this is his first ever NFT collection called Politics is Bullshit. And he did a drop-down Nifty gateway where you sold it, you listed it for $1. Obviously that got sold in less than a second. And today each of these 100 artworks, the floor is about 85 ETH. And then fast forward to 2021. This is when, in March 2021 was really when NFT art, crypto art had its breakout moment to the mainstream when people partnered with Christie's to sell this collage of his first 5,000 artworks. And this ended up selling for $69 million, which at the time was the sixth highest selling artwork by a living artist. So that puts people up there with big names like Damien Hirst, Jeff Koons, Jasper Johns. And obviously from such an eye-popping number, people kind of became an instant celebrity and got so much mainstream press attention. He's appearing on Joe Rogan, Jimmy Fallon, on the front page of the New York Times. And this is really kind of how crypto art crossed the chasm to mainstream from emerging as like early, cypherpunk, cool toy that people were experimenting on Bitcoin sidechains to now finally becoming mainstream. That a lot of people who've like heard of crypto probably know about Bitcoin, Ethereum, and NFTs, and like nothing much. So I do think art NFTs is like one of the key drawing points for like onboarding the masses, the mainstream audience to as next users for crypto. So where we are at now, so this is a screenshot from CryptoArt.io showing volumes. Obviously, it's down a lot from the bull market. This is also a leaderboard I've made of like the top selling artists. So you can see Beeple's #2, Pac, Tyler Hobbs, the creator of Fidenza, Dmitry Cherniak, Xcopy. These are some of the most valuable artists by the sum of their artwork. And I actually have a contrarian bet where I think the total market cap of art and NFTs will be worth more than the market cap of all cryptocurrencies except for Bitcoin and ETH in the next 10 years, because art is historically one of the biggest store of value asset classes. And as traditional art collectors, people decide where should they park their money. I think crypto art represents like the next movement of contemporary art that represents kind of the culture of the internet age today. And you can also see this is slowly happening with traditional art institutions starting to curate crypto art collections. So this is a gallery at MoMA, in the lobby of MoMA, that's actually been extended indefinitely because it's gotten so much popularity. And from talking to the MoMA folks, they're thrilled with this because it's bringing in so many young collectors, like people in their 20s and 30s, to the museum for the first time. And that's like never happened before. There's also other museums that are slowly acquiring permanent art collections. So actually, I went to the Centre Pompidou here in Paris a few days ago, and they have a punk and an autoglyph that they started acquiring as part of their collection. And that was really cool to see them curate that as part of their contemporary art displays. Obviously, crypto art's only the beginning of NFTs disrupting all entertainment industries. So it goes beyond art to music, photography, media, sports. Really, every entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry that's ready to be disrupted. Cool. So that's a whirlwind of kind of the history of crypto art. If we have a few minutes, I can answer some questions.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think like crypto art predates NFTs because crypto art started with cryptography in 2011. And artists like Josie or P-Boy who created crypto art on physical before making it into NFTs. Mm-hmm. So maybe it's about the vocabulary, but for me it's a little weird.
Yeah, it kind of depends, like how you define crypto art. The definition I'm going off of is from Jason Bailey. He goes by Art Gnome. He was the first collector on Super, and he's written a lot about crypto art on his blog.
Yeah, he's saying that crypto art predates NFTs.
Mm-hmm. I think this one back there.
Hey there. Hey, Richard. This is Rob from Halborn. And I was curious what your thoughts were. It's a bit of a controversial topic, which better. So Larva Labs, when they initially launched Punks, there was actually a bug in the code. And I think you know about this too, right? So they released a first edition of CryptoPunks. There was a bug, and then they released a second version of that. So I myself am a collector of different collectibles where first editions are always worth a little bit more, less. And I'm curious in general of your thoughts of provenance when it comes to sort of first editions and sort of revised versions coming out like that.
Yeah, I think it's just like kind of community shelling point of like what they consider to be the like the real version. So yeah, it's a social consensus among collectors, and collectors have socially decided that the second edition of punks are worth more.
Thank you, Richard.
Great. Thanks, everyone.